And today's movie that you don't hate. The Suicide Squad.
Not Suicide Squad, but the Suicide Squad.
James Gunn, damn you. You couldn't be any more original.
So the Suicide Squad is a quasi-sequel / reboot to the original 2016 version that a lot of people were pretty divisive on.
Yeah, I actually would say that it's not even quasi. It's definitely a sequel.
Okay, the funny thing about this is actually the first sequel that has actually done You Don't Hate, because we did You Don't Hate the Suicide Squad the original,
Squad.
And now we're doing the Suicide Squad. This franchise is really polarizing.
Superman Returns, that counts as a sequel.
Oh, yeah, but we never did anything else. We didn't do. Oh, we did do BVS. Yeah, you're right.
See,
you're right.
There you go. We did sequels.
So it's safe to say that DC needs to get their crap together to a certain degree.
All of our You Don't Hates, the majority of them, 85% of them are
all DC. What's going on with that? I don't know. Anyway, so if you guys have never seen You Don't Hate, we actually take a title like The Suicide Squad and we break it down to prove that that you really don't hate this movie.
You don't, and it's one of those things. I feel like the box office kind of gives the perception that it's not a good film, and a lot of people are kind of building off of that. Or if they've never seen the original, like Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad, but they see Suicide Squad, they've been kind of like set up to think that this is not a good franchise, or they just don't understand the premise.
Right, and to be honest with you, it's much improved.
Oh, very much improved.
Okay.
Like, watching this film, I feel like this is probably 3 to 4 times better than what the original one was.
So we break this down by plot,
Yes.
acting, directing, action sequences / special effects, if I could get that out,
I know it's first
and characters.
Yeah, man, when's the last time we did a You Don't Hate?
It's been a while. I think
Probably about a year.
Damn, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, maybe Captain Marvel.
It's at least been a year.
Yeah, it's been a while. But this movie has gotten so many mixed reviews that it was, it qualified, I thought,
It did qualify.
to a You Don't Hate.
I think because it's got the mixed reviews, I definitely feel like it qualifies, because it's one of those things where it's kind of up in the air as far as if it's good or it's bad. Normally, if it's kind of like everybody hates it and we're trying to so much defend it, at least in this one we can say like
the Green Lantern.
Hey.
All right, so Terrence, give us the plot of the Suicide Squad.
All right, so the Suicide Squad, like I said, for most people they think it's a quasi sequel. This is definitely a sequel, because what they do is they play off of what's already been established in the original Suicide Squad, minus the V. We have returning characters. We have Colonel Flag back. We have Harley Quinn back. Who else is returning on that? I think that's
Boomerang.
just it, right? Oh, Captain
And
Boomerang,
Waller.
Boomerang, and
Amanda Waller
are returning. So what they do is they show us that, like, hey, these people are still part of Task Force X. And people are aware, or at least the prisoners are aware of what this team represents.
Okay.
And the first one, they kind of set up everything, and they were doing like their first team. This one, it's already a known thing. We start off with a new team going into a unwinnable situation, and then we kind of work from there.
Okay.
If we go further on into the movie, we're looking at like, hey, the Suicide Squad taking on a alien presence and dealing with that. I was trying not to get too spoilery with it, but that's basically the setup of it. I do like what they did with this one I feel like this movie was more faster paced than the original one.
Yes,
was.
it was.
They had so much character
from the
set up.
intro alone. It was a lot faster.
And the original one was like, they didn't tell you anything about the characters. It just kind of showed you like montages, and they kind of gave you like text that kind of explained who the characters was.
Okay.
This one, it just moved really, really fast, and it kind of gave you characters that you didn't really care about, but you got the premise by how they handled the characters that you didn't really care about.
Did you like the plot?
Oh, I love the plot.
So you love the plot.
I love the plot. I mean, there's some things that I didn't like about this film, but I love the plot and how they set it up. And I like that they stayed truer to the comics.
I'm gonna give you that, especially down to Rick Flag's character design was a lot like the comics.
All right.
Wore a yellow shirt and everything.
Yeah, there was a thing that came out where, and that's more on characters, but so they replaced some characters with the same characters, but with just different names.
Okay.
So that was my only issue with how they set up this film, and it was like, hey, these aren't the same characters, but they're kind of the same characters.
I actually did not like the plot.
Why? You didn't like the plot that they had to...
I just didn't like... There was certain things about the plot that I did not really care for.
That they had a unwinnable situation that they had to go into and that they might possibly die.
Yeah.
That's the plot of every fucking Suicide comic. Literally, that's the plot of every Suicide Squad comic.
I don't know. You know, to be honest with you, it was a much improved plot from the first one, so I'll give you that. If I have to, judge it by comparison, then I guess I will give it the like.
Okay.
And you said love, so you're giving the... So right now, we got like, we got hate. The point for
I'm
plot
gonna give it to like.
Gives it to like.
I'm gonna give it to like.
Terrence, give me the scoreboard. And give it the point to like.
Right.
That's 1-0.
Right.
1-0 so far. Now we're going to go into acting.
Okay.
Now, this is actually a really great cast. I would somewhat argue a better cast than the original, maybe.
I would not argue that. I would say outright. It was like you get Idris Elba, you got
Viola
Margot
Davis.
Robbie, Viola Davis, you have
Joel Kinnaman,
John Cena. By the way, for people who want to say that John Cena is not a good actor, he has come leaps and bounds from when he originally started doing acting. I would say just like The Rock did. The Rock started out kind of rocky, kind of like shaky when he first started off, but like he did more roles. Batista did the same thing. They did more roles. They took more acting classes, and they got better.
So you got
John Cena stand out in this film.
So you got The Rock and maybe Walking Tall. Not that good of a movie. It was okay.
I
it was
would
there.
say,
Or The Rock and Doom. Not that good of a movie. I mean, It was okay, but not there. And then you got John Cena with The Marine, 12 Rounds.
Right.
Not that good.
Not that good.
No.
The first Daddy's Home and.
But this one right here, honestly, I really believe. Now, all of the actors did great. Everybody did a fantastic job. You can't freaking go wrong with Viola Davis. She's spectacular in everything she does. But honestly, John Cena stole this movie.
He did.
He was absolutely.
This is why he's getting his own spinoff.
Fantastic, and that's exactly why. And spoiler alert: you will get a post-credit scene at the end of the Suicide Squad that ties into the Peacemaker series. So yeah. And you got Sylvester Stallone in the Groot role.
So that was my only part.
In the Vin Diesel Groot role.
I feel like I wish Sylvester Stallone had done something else with this. So
do you feel that way about Vin Diesel as Groot?
No, so I feel like
right. That's my point. It's the Groot role. It's a James Gunn signature.
I feel like James Gunn told him be Groot.
No, James Gunn told him he wrote this for him.
Yeah, I feel like James Gunn should have said, "Hey, look, Ron Funches did an amazing job in the Harley Quinn show playing King Shark. You need to be somewhere in between. You need to be in between Groot and what Ron Funches did."
But neither happened.
He
was more Groot.
Have you seen? Yes, he was. Have you seen? Have you watched Harley Quinn?
Yes, I see part of it.
Have you?
Not all of it, but part of it.
Oh my God, Ron Funches does a great job, and it's not King Shark at all, but he does a great job as King Shark, even though it's not King Shark.
But when you're looking at the James Gunn style and universe and the way he directs and how he is and what he expects from his actors, he really literally took freaking Vin Diesel's role
and made it
Groot. Like,
he made it Groot.
And
that's the reason what I don't like about it.
You would think that, Killer Croc would have been one in the first one. I guess he'd be the closest one.
Okay.
And in this one, I thought it was going to be Weasel in the Rocket maybe role, but that didn't happen.
Okay.
It's safe to say that Stallone got the Vin Diesel role in this whole thing. He did get the
Vin Diesel role.
Yeah.
And made it easy for him. He could do it. It was not a big thing. I kind of feel like in regards to, but we can get into characters, I guess, later. But I feel like, we'll get into director later. But I wasn't that blown away by King Shark. And and it's probably for the simple fact that I watched the Harley Quinn show and
your comparisons here. Yeah,
my
right.
expectation for King Shark was so high.
Okay.
I feel like Ron Funches nailed it for a character that he was totally opposite of who the character was, but he set my expectations for the character to be this.
Fair enough.
And to get Groot, I was a little disappointed. Now, with that being said, Peacemaker was great. Rick Flag was great. Idris Elba as Bloodsport, great. great. And I wasn't even that familiar with Bloodsport, but like he sold me on Bloodsport as a character, and I was like,
You know
I
what?
get it. Even though Bloodsport is basically Deadshot.
Yeah, and we'll get to characters, but from a performance standpoint, I thought honestly that this is probably Margot Robbie's best performance as Harley Quinn.
I believe so too.
I think this is her best performance as Harley Quinn, way better than what she did in the first, and even a step above Birds of Prey.
Right.
Idris Elba in the Will Smith role, regardless, I don't care what anybody says, that's the Will Smith role. And they only left it open.
I feel like they just changed the name.
Yeah,
like
they did.
They wrote it for Deadshot, and they changed the name.
And
even though I know the rumors came out that it was written for Deathstroke, but I feel like this role was really written for Deadshot.
Yeah, it was, and to a point where Idris was gonna just take over the Deadshot role, but they said, you know what, maybe we can get Will later.
Yeah.
Because it was a scheduling conflict on this one.
If you recast him, then you can't get Will Smith back.
Exactly.
Right.
So yeah, I thought Idris played it great too. And you know what? We'll get into characters. I wanted to say this one part.
We want to get
but
to
let's
that part.
get into it. All right.
So I love the acting that was done here. Outside of the Groot aspect of King Shark. With Sylvester Stallone, everything else, I love what they did with it. Who's the guy who played Scarecrow that also played Polka Dot Man, who also played...
No, Cillian Murphy played Scarecrow.
Oh,
this guy
wasn't the same guy.
No,
I thought it was the same guy.
Dave, he has a really long name.
He looks just like the same guy.
He was awesome. He was the cop that was working for the Joker. That they busted him in the Dark Knight.
No.
The
same guy.
They look the same. You're right. They do look the same. But either way, he was actually another standout.
I really liked him in that. Everybody on the first team, obviously, they were just fodder.
And we're awful.
The Michael Rooker thing, I was so caught off guard with that. I literally thought Michael Rooker was gonna stick around for a while.
Just like in the first one with the one Indian guy, the Samson, the big Samson dude.
Slipknot.
Slipknot. Yeah, I thought he was gonna stick around.
I knew Slipknot was gonna die. So that, and I was really kind of disheartened when Captain Boomerang died.
Yes.
I thought they were gonna redeem his character. I thought we were gonna see more of him, and I was like, I thought he was gonna be an integral part of this movie, and then they killed him.
But then they remember what he did in Terminator.
Oh.
All right, so Daniela Melchior was a standout in her performance
for
Ratcatcher.
Yeah.
I thought she was a standout. Her performance as well. She did really, really good in that movie.
She made me really feel like I cared about the character.
She was Jen Erso.
Yeah, she was Jen Erso. She made me really feel for the character, and that's not something I normally would go into comic books. It was like I don't really feel for the character. It's just kind of like, hey, they have a job to do, and if they make it, they make it. If they don't, they don't. And this one, you're kind of like hoping. Even Bloodsport says, "Hey, I'm gonna make sure you survive." And it was like you kind of hope that she survives because you felt like she shouldn't have been there, right?
And you know what's funny that you saying that me saying that she's Jen Erso is the Suicide Squad is basically Rogue One.
It is Rogue One. It is Rogue One.
All right, so acting, we're gonna give it a like. I'm gonna give it a like too. That's a 2-0 run right there.
Outside of the Sylvester Stallone thing, I don't think it was a bad performance. Sylvester Stallone wasn't his fault. That's just what James Gunn did.
That's what James Gunn did. Right. So speaking of James Gunn, next category is directing. Now James Gunn made this fun.
Yes. Absolutely.
He brought a lot of the Guardians humor to the squad. Kept the same tone throughout the entire film. WB gave him a chance, and with as far as what his vision was, the chance that they should have gave David Ayers, but they gave him that full chance because they saw what he did with Guardians,
right.
And he's been a hit with both Volume 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So of course they're gonna freaking let him do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, exactly.
But he just showed how fun and an over the top director he is, and how much freedom he gives his actors on screen. I'm pretty sure that they improv'd a lot. I'm pretty sure that he let them try some things.
Oh God, I can't wait to get the characters so we can talk about the characters.
So
talk about the
I know, right? We're itching to get to characters for the first time because we never. But I thought his tone was. I mean, you gave this guy a big freaking sandbox to play with,
right?
Where there were really no limitations because he has the comfort and the freedom of an R rating to take it a little bit more over the top than what he would love to do in Guardians. Right. And I saw a lot of similarities in Guardians and in this. Obviously, we just talked about the King Shark / Groot tie, but you saw a lot of similarities in the humor. But where he took it over the top, he took it over the top in the right spots,
right?
And kept the same tone throughout. So on his spot, I thought he did fantastic.
I think he did great. One of the things that like really stands out for me is that like he really understood Task Force X. And it was like it's not really about like the individual characters. It's about like, hey, we're trying to achieve a goal. And that goal may cost us lives. And in the comics, it's a way for them to kind of shelve characters that really aren't important or like not, they don't have the storylines for, or maybe they can't continue a comic for them. So he really understood that, and he really wanted to show like, hey, this is literally Amanda Waller playing with people's lives. And I really like how he did that. He was like, hey, I'm gonna send this team in as a fucking decoy, knowing that they're gonna fucking die, and send another team in to achieve the real goal. He absolutely got who the Suicide Squad was, or who Task Force X was. They was like, hey, they're expendable. The Expendables. They're expendable. They're expendable for Amanda Waller, and it's like he literally got it, and he showed that in this particular movie. He gave us a bunch of like abstract characters that we will never have to worry about seeing in a DC film, and he played with them. Like you said, this was his handspot. He's like, he got to do whatever he wanted with all these obscure characters, and kind of like with no consequence. He was like, oh, I can kill this guy. I don't have to worry about them. Maybe they're gonna use, except for Superman, because I heard the rumors out that he wanted to make Superman the actual villain of this. But he got to play with, and kind of like you said, free reign is a thing that is a could be a good thing or a bad thing, or it's like you could use it to your advantage to really kind of show what your ideas are, or you can have too much free reign and then you just do stupid crap, and then it's like, why are you doing this? So I like how he used the amount of leeway that he had with it, and he did it in a sense to where like
he was responsible.
Exactly,
He was responsible with it. So yeah, okay.
No,
so we are going.
So I'm on directing. I'm really good how he directed this film.
That's a 3-0 lead.
So much so it's like it even came down to like how he directed some of the scenes. Like my favorite one was like when they're in a little van or bus scene or something like that, and even the cinematography when they're like throwing weapons back and forth, and more like where they have their whole plan to go save Margot Robbie or Harley Quinn, and then they find out they're wasting their time
because she saved herself.
Exactly right. So I love how that played out.
Yeah, I liked her, crying like, you were gonna do this.
You were gonna do that. I can go back inside.
It was awesome.
I like how they play like most of the action scenes, and we're gonna get the action scenes. So it's like I like how he directed most of the scenes that we saw.
All right, so let's get into it. All right, so now that's a 3-0 lead. All right. It's safe to say we're on a really good.
Dude, this is a great movie. I can't believe anybody didn't like this film.
So here we go. Action sequences. You want to talk about action? This thing had it all, and it had very Tarantino-ish type of action as well.
Yes.
And it had a lot of, I would say, some nice gore horror there a little bit in certain scenes.
Like with the
killer shark ripping the killer shark, king shark ripping in half. I mean, that was just an amazing scene. And
ripped him in half, and
talking about
or Polka Dot Man fucking doing the whole like the body horror thing with like his face being contorted and him having to throw up the dots.
Absolutely. So when the action came, it came with the thunder.
It did come with the thunder.
Yeah, and Harley and Bloodsport scenes, those were fantastic scenes.
Yeah.
I thought Idris, he played it great with a lot of those action scenes. And Margot Robbie, for as much of the acrobatic, gymnastic type of moves that she did in the original, and some of the brutal stuff she did in Birds of Prey,
right?
She did fantastic. She kind of like blended both of them in
the whole scene we were talking about where she saved herself, and it was
all of
she had
that
to fight
was
all the
fantastic.
guards. I was like, I love that scene. I also love the scene where they're in the village trying to get to Rick Flag, and they're having to kind of like we're gonna one up each other between Bloodsport and Peacemaker or Peacekeeper. Peacemaker. All right. So him and Peacemaker, when they have to one up each other, I felt like a lot of the Predator vibe.
I was gonna say the same thing. You're absolutely right.
And it was like and
knock.
My best line. He was like, it's like you're a bit of a show off, and he was like, it's not showing off when it's dope as fuck. That was my best line of the whole fucking thing. But I love that scene in general. It's like where like they just kept wanting to. It's like I love where even thinking back to like Lord of the Rings, where like the elf and the dwarf when they're like one up each other on kills.
Right.
Like that. It's that competitive nature kind of one ups the scene. Or even thinking about John Wick
or Tango and Cash.
Tango and Cash. It's like the whole that kind of dynamic between two people. It kind of really like you lose the over the topness of like the kills themselves, but you just kind of playing with it's like, oh, I did this and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna like I love that part of it.
So, do you see an Idris and John Cena team up? Do we got to see a Peacemaker?
Not the way this film ended. Not the way this film ended, but can't wait to see that Peacekeeper spinoff.
All right, so finally, well, first of all, what are we giving action scenes?
As far as action scenes,
I'm giving it a like.
The Starro scene, by itself is like, so they made him a threat,
yeah,
but like almost. Well, I mean, they didn't even make the mention of kaiju, right?
And we're gonna
like it was Godzilla aspect type of threat. It was like,
yes,
even though it's not what Starro is, but it's like you could see like, crap, we really can't win this fight the way it is. But that scene itself, the way it played out, it's like, hey, we're not equipped, but we're still gonna fight it out. I love that scene. So
yeah, kind of reminded me of fighting the Blob in 1988.
Where it's like you understand like, we're not equipped for this.
Yeah,
but we still have to do it.
Yeah, and so that's what I got. There's two classic horror films that came to mind in that Starro scene. One was The Blob, and the other one was They Live.
Okay, I can see They Live
because the the smaller stars on the faces, they look like a one-eyed They Live. That's what it reminded me of so much.
I really like the fact that they set it up to where like, hey, they're lost. We're not even going to try to save them. These people are lost. Let's just keep moving. Mow through them. Mow through them.
Will would have killed them all. All right.
He would have.
All right, here we go. So we're going to give it a like?
I give it a like.
It's a like. And it's safe to say we won this 4-0.
We're 4-0. It's like,
but you know what? Let's get into it. This is what we've been waiting for. Characters finally. So when you're looking at the original Suicide Squad where you have a bunch of characters that seem interesting, but nothing is ever done with them. Kind of like Katana. You got the sword. She captures your soul when she kills you. But not once do they show anything with it. Wasted on her. All right? Killer Croc.
Yeah.
Wasted. They do nothing with him.
They had the one scene where we pulled like a guard into the water, and that's all we saw.
Yeah, so a lot of them are wasted. In this particular one, obviously, like you said earlier, a lot of the characters that you knew weren't going to really last.
Right.
They probably got more valuable screen time, or they had more to do than the other ones. So was it Pete Davidson? Pete Davidson.
When they cast him, I was like, oh, he gonna die.
Blackguard gonna die.
Yeah, Blackguard. It was like when they say like, oh, Mongal's gonna be in this. So it's like Mongal's such a small character. She's gonna die.
All right.
She's gonna die. And it was like TDK.
Hold on. I got this. All right. So here we go. All right. So pretty much we already know more or less what the 2016 version was, right? Okay. So now here is the character list, more or less. I might miss some, so give me a break.
Okay.
You got Bloodsport.
Right.
Great character.
Yes.
The character design.
And
with the xenomorph helmet. I loved it. I saw it. It was a xenomorph. So it was fantastic.
I literally thought they were going to do Bloodsport, or not Bloodsport. They were going to do
Deadshot.
Thank you. Deadshot. Where like you're gonna see him in the mask one time and then never see him in the mask again, but he kept going back to it and it was so comic accurate. So like he has this thing where like,
so the comic looks like a xenomorph.
No, not that, but like the fact that like how he pulls his weapons.
Okay.
And it was like he can like put together, like he has like this whole alien tech where he can keep putting together weapons. So when like he kept grabbing stuff and putting it was like, that is so comic accurate. It's like he keep putting together like alien weapons.
And they did it right. And it's not like, Winter Soldier's Captain America.
I really love how they treated Bloodsport, and it was like it was amazing.
I think a lot of it had to do with Idris.
Yeah.
He had a lot to do with that.
He sold me so much on that character.
Yeah, so great one. Yes. All right, Harley, obviously, she was fantastic.
Yeah.
Rick Flag was better in this.
He did much, but he did more things than what he did in the first film.
Exactly, and this film actually made me forgive Kinnaman for RoboCop. All right, next one.
Whoa, I love RoboCop.
Peacemaker as a character was like good. John Cena describes him as a douchey Captain America.
Look, he said some of the best lines in this movie where he was like, I do everything you do, but I use smaller bullets.
If this island was full of dicks, I would eat a bag of dicks.
I would eat a bag of dicks for freedom. For peace. Like, he did such a great, like...
As a character, though, Peacemaker was awesome.
I'm not familiar with the character, that much familiar with the character of Peacemaker, but I would hope in the comics that he is as fun as John Cena made him seem in the movie.
Absolutely. Ratcatcher 2, that was a great character. James Gunn describes her as the heart of the film.
Yeah.
as the heart of the film. King Shark, we talked about that one.
By the way, so once again, Ron Funches, I wish you could have been in this movie to do this film, and it's like it would have been great. But I liked what they kind of gave me. Well, it's like I like what they gave me.
I like the character desigin.
I love the character design.
It's not a hammerhead because King Shark's a hammerhead. I think.
I wish they hadn't have made him so Groot-esque. I really wish they hadn't have done that.
Right.
I'm okay with the fact that even though,
but the kills were great.
He was Groot-esque. It was like they let him talk, but he was kind of dumb, and I was like, King Shark's not really that smart of a character, but I can deal with what they gave us.
Okay, so I thought that Waller was consistent. Viola Davis was consistent as Waller from the first one.
I feel like they ramped her up.
They ramped her up a little bit.
She was ruthless.
She was more ruthless than the first time. But as far as what her motives were and how Viola played her, it was consistent with the first one. So I thought that was great.
Would you say that she controls this franchise?
I would say that she is the real villain of the entire thing.
I mean, she is, definitely.
All right, so Boomerang as a character did nothing but die within the first 15, 20 minutes.
I was really sad about that, and that was maybe them trying to say, hey, this is the stakes of this movie.
No,
we're gonna kill Boomerang, even though we know you guys love Captain Boomerang.
I want to say that this is we're moving on from David Ayers.
Oh,
that's why they killed Flag. That's why they killed Boomerang. And
Harley still made it.
It's Harley Quinn. They're not gonna let her go. All right. Polka Dot Man was a great character.
I like Polka Dot Man.
I liked him. I did not like his ending.
He's not Scarecrow.
No, he is not Scarecrow. But I did like the character itself. You can see how the attachment. How about Milton? Let's give it up for Milton, the chubby guy. He's like, Milton's been here the whole time.
He's the whole time.
He's been here the whole time. Like, how do you understand? Milton, we give it up for Milton. The Thinker.
I like that. It's like that's a
one.
character that's like I would have never expected to be in a live action film.
If you look at the, I want to say the Amazing Spider-Man, or was it the Incredible Hulk, where the Doctor gets the leader.
The leader, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's what the Thinker reminded me of. If they would have in fact moved forward with that,
and that's why it happened so briefly in Incredible Hulk, because that's not a character you would ever expect to see in live action. So they just kind of like, hey, here is the leader. But we're never gonna touch on this ever again. So for them to show us the Thinker and have him be like
did he come back from the snap? I'm curious. The leader. How about that one?
I don't know. Hey, Abomination's still there. So.
Savant, and that's Michael Rooker. And yeah.
I'm not familiar with Savant. I was really excited.
I was gonna see Rooker though.
I was excited that Michael Rooker was in this film. It almost to me felt like James Gunn was like, "Hey guys,
I need Yondu in here."
Do you guys have a movie coming up? And they were like, no. All right, cool. You're going to be in Suicide Squad. So he just gave them roles to be in Suicide Squad.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, TDK, where in the comic is Arm Fall Off Boy. Arm Fall Off Boy.
So it's really cool in the comics because it's fucking gross. So what he does is that he'll rip an arm off and beat you with his own arm.
Yeah. And who better than Nathan Fillion to play that role?
Okay, so here's the deal. As much as I was happy to see Nathan Fillion in a role, I feel like they wasted him in this role.
I agree with you because Nathan Fillion is somebody you do not want to freaking waste.
They wasted him in this role.
It's bad enough he's not Nathan Drake.
It was funny. Oh God, please don't get me started on that. It was funny to see him in the role, but I kind of wish that they had done something else with him. It's like they didn't hype it, but like they insinuated that he was going to be in the film. So I was like, what are they going to do with this character? Because he's kind of an over-the-top character. It was like, let me rip my arm off. Let me hit you with that. Let me rip this arm off. Let me do that. And it was like, so all they did was he kind of like... was it, what was her name from the first one?
Oh, Enchantress.
Enchantress. He enchantressed his arms.
So he was the Delevingne of this one. All right.
The Cara Delevingne of this one.
All right, so, and then we talked about Blackguard. I did not know his name was Richard Hertz, so it says Dick Hertz.
I didn't know that either.
But hey, Pete Davidson, you can't go wrong. I just wish they would have done more with him too.
Yeah. No, it's like I'm okay with him dying.
How about Weasel?
All right, so James Gunn puts his brother in every film that he's in,
and he was freaking disgusting.
And he survived. Which is the craziest part about it. It was like, so I like the fact that he was kind of a running joke. And it was like, oh, my next werewolf, or like, oh no, he's okay. I mean, he's not really okay because he killed a bunch of kids. So I like that he was a running joke, and that was almost kind of like in the Guardian films. He was kind of a running joke.
How about this? He was Steve Buscemi in Con Air.
Yes. That is a good. Yeah, there you go. I'll give you that one. That was a.
It was like Galen Green was like the freaking worst killer in the world, and at the end he's like all nice and freaking playing blackjack with all this money.
So I'm good with that. Not that I need to see Weasel do anything else.
No, I do not. No, I don't need
that. Like they're gonna like.
And I thought for a minute he was gonna be the Rocket of this, but not even close.
Nah.
So Calendar Man. He's like
we did get Calendar Man.
We had gotten Calendar Man.
Calendar Man.
He's more like the freaking when you look at
Batman thing. Though.
Yeah, when you look at the Long Halloween, you know, he's kind of like the Hannibal Lecter of this, and you know, I would have wished they would have waited.
Yelling out when I saw him. I was like, "Oh, Calendar Man!"
I wish they wouldn't have done anything with it. I wish they would have just not had him in it, or if it was if it was brief and they don't use him so they could save him for something.
It just kind of introduced him, and it's like they didn't do anything. Like he didn't die, and it was like he was just there.
Yeah. So that was good to see, and of course Starro.
Yeah.
And like I said before, it just reminded me too much of They Live, but it was okay.
Look, I was okay with that. I was like, it was a good callback to Justice League. But Starro's really a Justice League villain and not really a Suicide Squad villain.
Would you have preferred?
I felt like he was too big for them, but like I said, Suicide Squad has taken on bigger villains, so I'm okay with it. I feel like Starro in the comics would have done more than what he did here, and that he probably wouldn't have been as easy to take down. I feel like Polka Dot Man could have taken him down by himself. And if it wasn't for the fact that he got stepped on,
he probably would have, because he was actually making a dent there for a little while. So yeah, you're right. And of course, I can't stand rats, but that was a pretty crazy
ass. I think
it was too much. It was too much.
So gross.
But anyway, all right. So we're gonna go for the clean sweep here.
Dude, this is the first time we've ever had a 5-0.
We have not had a 5-0. 4-1, I think.
4-1 with Tron Legacy.
And I wasn't even on that show.
Yeah, you would have. Me and Art, we had a 4-1 on Tron Legacy. So this is the only time we've absolutely loved the film.
5-0. It was a 5-0.
This film was great. Like I said, it had minor gripes, and I will give them to you. It had minor gripes, but overall, this film for me is the new Judge Dredd.
Yeah, and you do not even freaking close.
I feel like this film is a great film that is underappreciated.
To me, this was total complete redemption from the 2016.
Right.
And this actually should just show WB, who honestly, when it comes to the pandemic, is the MVP when it comes to Hollywood. But I would hope that this would teach them to stay away and let the filmmakers do what they do. Because now everybody, like, you let Snyder do it and it freaking boosted up the freaking HBO Max with Justice League.
Yeah.
David Ayers is now screaming for release the Ayers cut of Suicide Squad, that's not going to happen. Especially now that James Gunn has done really a damn good job. But, you know, keeping the tone the entire way and actually focusing on not trying to copy or mimic or do anything like that, because that's what the first one was trying to do. First it was trying to be a Marvel movie, and then it was trying to be a DC movie, and it kind of killed the whole tone. So this one was constant throughout the whole thing, and coincidentally it was a Marvel freaking director that did the whole thing. So shout outs to them, and it just goes to show that you do not hate this movie.
Gosh, you don't hate this film. And I was like, and we have friends that are like putting comments to us, and we're like, I didn't like this. And I've seen like where like the Rotten Tomato scores on it. It was like, I can't believe everybody doesn't like this film. It's one thing that it didn't make the money they expected it to make, but it was like, I felt like
blame the variant on that.
Yeah, there you go. But I feel like the overwhelming review should have been so high, and it's not as high as I thought that this film really deserved.
Now, granted, it was #1 opening weekend, and you had Rock versus Cena again, so I guess Cena's 2-1 on The Rock because he beat Jungle Cruise. But all right, so let's go. Fun facts. All right, here we go. King Shark was put in just for Sylvester Stallone.
I can see that. Like I said, I feel like James Gunn is like, hey, you guys are all my friends, and you guys we're not doing any Guardians anytime soon. Is you guys busy? And we're like, no. It's like, come on. Come in the Suicide Squad.
Batista chose Army of the Dead over playing the Peacemaker. I think this was better with John Cena than
it was better with John Cena, because all I would have thought it was like the way the Peacemaker kind of came across. I felt like Batista would have just made it Drax. It'd have been Drax with a helmet on.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it was John Cena.
This was budgeted at $185 million, has made $140. Streaming figures have not been released yet.
Because they're not ever going to release those. Netflix doesn't release how much they make off these films. So it's one of those things where, like I said, we said before, if you watch the podcast, they need to start redoing how they measure the success of a film by views and not by dollar amounts, like they do with music. How many times it's streamed, not how many times it's like a physical dollar ticket sale. And we will really sit back and think about like the success of this film, as opposed to thinking about that it was 185 and it only made 140
so far.
Yeah, and they're gonna talk about like it's not a success. So.
Yeah, and the more or less the consensus as far as opinion is that there's a lot of people that do like it.
Yeah.
And we just proved that you don't hate it. So, all right, here we go. We already said that the first one, that this was a much better version than the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, but what's missing from this one that you would have loved to see?
I mean, obviously, the big hole is Deadshot.
So you would have loved to see Will Smith?
I would have loved to see Will Smith, even if they had mentioned him at the very end.
Even in the
So there was even a thing that was talking about. It was like, oh, we have a guy who's like military trained, who's like really really good shot, who has this whole relationship with his daughter, and they're like, and that's not Deadshot.
Yeah.
Or if like I said, if Deathstroke was intended to really be the lead for this film, I kind of want to see what they were gonna do with Deathstroke. What they were gonna do with Deathstroke.
Joe Manganiello,
because technically he's still cast as Deathstroke.
Yeah. Having him as the lead over Idris or Will would have been tough.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't have picked him over them, but I would have liked to see what they were going to do with the character. Even if they had made him a side character.
I'm with you though. I'm with you though, because I think
if they had made Peacemaker not here, kept Bloodsport and Deathstroke, I would have liked to see how that worked.
I'm with Will and Cena in the scene together.
That'd be great.
That would be freaking awesome. I'm good with that.
We're all hoping for like the Suicide Squad.
The absolute Suicide Squad with Will Smith and John Cena in it. Absolutely,
Yeah,
I'm in.
God bless.
I'm in. All right, Terrence, take us home.
All right, so guys, like we were talking about, like we on You Don't Hate talk about films that maybe like get a raw deal, right? Don't really get the loving that they deserve.
The recognition.
The recognition they deserve when they first come out. That's what this show is about. If there's a film that you think kind of fits that mold, please let us know in the comments below so that way we can talk about that on our next You Don't Hate. We haven't been doing this as often as we want to because we want to make sure that there's a film where like, hey, that's a good film that's just kind of underappreciated. This is one of those films. Please tell us how you feel about it in the comments below. And if this is the first time that you're watching the channel, make sure you subscribe as well as click the notification button so that way you're aware of all the other You Don't Hates that we do and the other things that we do on the channel.
Yeah, I still get crap for Jaws 3.
You should. You absolutely should. You should get.
You don't hate Jaws 3. I don't care what anybody says.
You should get crap for Jaws 3 and Smoking the Bandit 3.
For Aspen and Art, wherever the hell they're at, and Carla at home getting well from her broken foot, I'm Manny.
I'm Terrence.
And we'll see you next time.
Guys, you're still with us? Great. I know it's the end of the year, and I know you guys are in the holiday spirit, the spirit of giving, right? So we're asking you to give us money. So if you look down below, you'll see where it says patreon.com/thegoods. Right there is if you have an excess amount of cash laying around. If you have not bought enough Christmas presents and you're wondering, who else can I bring joy to this year? Us. That's who you can bring joy to. Have you ever looked at us and you're like, man, they should get a better camera? You're right, because we don't have enough money to. You can help us do that. Patreon.com/thegoods. Help us out. We'd appreciate it. And you can be a part of the goods yourself.